in-house cloud. Having talked about these, what are the three cloud service models? These are very apparent and very simple terms today: SaaS, PaaS, IaaS. So going in the reverse order, infrastructure as a service is the first form of cloud computing that exists. They may or may not be on a virtualized platform. And as I go ahead, I will be talking about how can IaaS be without virtualization. We could have platform as a service, and we could also have software as a service. If I were to talk about a mail application, it is a simple case of software as a service. So you are being offered a service which you use, and today it is free, it may be payable tomorrow, and you get out, period. Cloud platform as a service. So if a cloud provider is offering you a complete development environment on a go-to basis, it could be platform as a service. And going to the next slide, I'll just explain to you what infrastructure as a service would mean. So if I were to look at the various service model architectures, they exist in this fashion, again going from bottom upwards. At the root lies infrastructure as a service. But when we talk about platform as a service, it cannot exist without infrastructure being available as a service. Similarly, if I were to talk about software as a service, it cannot exist without PaaS, and it cannot exist without IaaS. So at the top of the heap lies software as a service, which includes platform as a service, which includes infrastructure as a service. And as we discuss, we will be talking about what are the service models to support this architecture. So while infrastructure may require different level of service and service constituents, platform as a service may require different constituents. Similarly, software as a service may require different constituents. Although when I have drawn this architecture, I have drawn sharp bold lines between these three, but these lines actually are very blurred. These definitions exist so as to be able to convey to the user. However, at so many places you will find that these lines are often missing or blurred. What I mean to say is that infrastructure, platform, and software as a service come so close to each other that at times it may become very difficult to say whether it is an IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. But yes, one needs to define terms because we engineers are known to have crisp definitions. However, in real life, these lines may or may not exist in an implementation. If I would look at infrastructure as a service, it essentially means delivery of computer hardware as a service. So the hardware could include storage, it could include networking equipment, it could include physical space in a data center, it could include firewall, intrusion prevention devices, and detection devices. It could of course include servers. It could also have a layer of virtualization, which is actually a piece of software to manage these resources. But virtualization may or may not be the necessary part of it. So if you see the value visibility to the end user, if as an end user you are using Hotmail as your preferred email, you do not see what is the infrastructure behind it, what kind of storage you have, whether it is Hitachi or whether it is HP or whether it is Sun Storage. The Hotmail user is completely unaware of this. Today when you book your LPG refill on the net, you're not bothered about what is the hardware that Indian people are using. It is you're completely transparent to this. So the value visibility is actually in the reverse order. A software user does not see what is the layer of soft platform that is being there and what is the layer of infrastructure that is being there. It may be virtualized, it may not be virtualized. One of the simplest cases of an enterprise would be of infrastructure as a service would be that an enterprise moves all its existing hardware servers to a data center to take advantage of power, cooling, and monitoring service. For example, if you have a small organization which is generating teacups, and you have one server which is monitoring your production data, this server could get out of your office and go into a data center and be available to you at least on the power and cooling front 24/7. You could additionally have your infrastructure provider give a backup to this. So an enterprise could move to a data center by just asking for support on power and cooling. It could also extend monitoring. For example, you have an OS on the hardware that you move to the data center. This OS needs to be patched, its security checks need to be done, it needs to be restarted once in a while. All this could be outsourced to the data center. Alternately, you could be doing this remotely sitting in your office if you have IT infrastructure staff available to you. So infrastructure as a service will not exist in isolation, that it is just about power, cooling, and monitoring services. It is about power, cooling, monitoring, support, OS support, DB level support, backup support. So there could be a lot of services that you could add with it, while having these in-house could have been slightly expensive. For example, if you were to take a backup of your existing data as a database, so you would probably need somebody who understood MS SQL database backing well. This gentleman will not be very good at managing your Ethernet cables. So you would end up having two resources within the organization. One who is looking after the connectivity within the organization, and the second one who is looking at OS and who is looking at data backup. Now data backup is probably 1 hour job to be happening either every day or let's say once a week. So this gentleman who you have kept for backup and OS monitoring is not being productive all the time. If your network cabling and your physical infrastructure on the network is very stable and it has been done very well, then your network gentleman is also redundant, but not dispensable. So when you are talking about infrastructure as a service, you do tend to have manpower which may not be productive, but they need to be there. Good old electrician within a small organization did many other jobs. He would double up as a security guard, he would double up as a kitchen assistant, and he would also double up as an assistant delivery boy or a short distance courier, and be able to still retain his job as an electrician and perform the duty as well. But he was multitasking. He was multitasking on a low skill job. When you're talking of high skill jobs, multitasking becomes to a degree a motivational result. So that is what one faces when you're talking about infrastructure as a service. But when we talk about platform as a service, it includes more than just delivery of infrastructure. So let's say you have an environment where currently you are a development organization and you are doing your development on .NET. So you have a delivery server, you have a test server, you have a beta test server, and then you have a production server. Of course, you need another virtual safe server to be managing your code. So you have about 5 or 6 servers sitting within the organization who are actually helping the programmers do their development. Now these servers are available to your organization. You have bought their licenses and you continue to use them. Now if another organization wants to do all this, it has to have a same stack of servers. So another .NET developer will set up all these 5-6 servers within their office and replicate what has been done in another organization. However, if a data center provider gave this as a service, so it sets up a VSS, it sets up the Windows-based development server, it sets up another SQL server, it sets up another production server and a beta test server, and gives multiple users the option to use these services and also create a separate window for each one of them, what is known as multi-tenancy. Then the cost of developing software for all these organizations could probably come down, as they could do without investing in so much hardware. So this is when somebody would be making the licenses available, making the underlying hardware available, making the network switches and storage and internet available, and people just log in from their laptops, do their development and get out. So the entire stack of 5-6 servers that you need to maintain within your organization, just get out and you use them, and the cost of usage can go down. So this is a case where platform comes in as a service. If you take an example of, like I said, data center service provider builds the software development hierarchy to facilitate development for multiple clients, each having multiple developers. So in this case, the organization saves on the capex, it saves on maintaining these servers, and all it needs is a login account into these servers and their developer, and the confidence that the data that they are creating is safe, or a conviction on the robustness of a multi-tenant architecture. This is what is required. And if we were to look at software as a service, it is simply a business application designed for a specific purpose. Look at Salesforce.com. You know, their catchphrase is success, not software, although it is a software company. So it is a solution, it's a CRM solution that takes IT out of an application. So your user in a sales organization would be trained on how to log into a CRM, how to be able to use it, and how to be able to extract reports out of it, and how the management will use these reports to manage their sales force. Now what has software as a service enabled? The software as a service, Salesforce.com, has enabled the users to not look at software as something weird, to not look at platform underneath it, and to be completely oblivious of the hardware behind it, to be completely oblivious about the database behind it, to be completely oblivious about how the backups are happening, to be completely oblivious that, you know, the server could be sitting in the US and somebody in Tumkur could be using it. So location independence comes in. If there are 500 Salesforce on the ground, they are all having access to it 24/7. They could use it at leisure, and the product is always available. So if one were to look at the 5 characteristics, an application like this meets all those requirements. So Salesforce is a software as a service, and it includes platform on which this product has been developed. It includes infrastructure that is required to run all these products. So this is what is happening when you talk about SaaS. SaaS would be typically of single tenancy, simple multi-tenancy, and fine-grained multi-tenancy. For example, if you are using MS Exchange, which your organization has hosted on the cloud, so you create your own infrastructure architecture on the cloud. By infrastructure architecture, I mean you have a mail server, you have a role-based server, you have an Active Directory, you implement it on the cloud. So some cloud provider gives you all these servers, you buy these licenses yourself, you deploy them, you manage them. So you have taken the hardware from the customer, deployed your Exchange on it, and then you are running it. On the same set of physical machines, another set of customers doing the same things. So they are all running multiple instances of MS Exchange, MS SQL, and running their MS Exchange services. So the software of mail delivery is being run on the infrastructure, but in a simple multi-tenancy. However, fine-grained multi-tenancy is something that is desirable. For example, if we are all software developers and we use MS SQL as our underlying database, somebody creates a large instance of MS SQL Enterprise and gives us access to each of our slices. So using multi-tenancy to the full. So the license cost for MS SQL is one, the users are many, and they all get security of being able to access SQL through their own set of passwords or the confidence that the data is safe. So software as a service could be delivered in two models, simple multi-tenancy and fine-grained multi-tenancy, where all resources are shared, but customer data and access capabilities are segregated within the application. So the platform of MS SQL segregates all of these and gives one common face to the person who is using it. So if you are running an application that uses MS SQL, so there are 5 such applications for 5 such developers, while the underlying database is single. It is a classic instance of an infrastructure as a service, software as a service with fine-grained multi-tenancy. This is what Salesforce.com did, and this is how they've been able to bring down the cost of development and the cost of deployment low.